Starting time for 11:50, 5.30, finish time 63.26. The track is clear for players Susanna and Skeleton Slide.
Hello and welcome to Yanqing in China, the venue for the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. We are ready for race 3 of the IBSF Skeleton World Cup for this season. After double race weekend in Pyeongchang in Korea last week, they are racing again on their second Olympic track of the season. So, first of our two heats, 31 sleds go in. Fastest 25 go through to the second heat, and this is the Snow Dragon, the newest and most high-tech track yet constructed, and it really does have the look with the way the tiled roof has been laid down the mountainside of a dragon sliding up the hill. So start record from the race last season, Valentina Margalio. I beg your pardon, it wasn't that, it was set in the game. So February 2022, the start record. First couple of corners, if there's a sinuous sort of triple S's at the top. Corner 3 here, really important not to hit on the exit of corner 4. And our POV camera, Yang Chang, is one of the best sliders in the business, so it's an absolutely superb run. Uphill into corner 6, and then through this little chicane to turn 9, and then uphill again into the Kreisel, or the spiral as they call it here, turn 11. 360 degrees, exiting down into monstrous corner 12, and then it's pretty much uphill all the way again. Out of 13, it goes on forever. Speed vanishes there. Over the brow, 14 and 15 produced so many problems in the games, and then out of corner 16 very quickly across the finish line. Well, it's a nice, bright, sunny day. Air temperature +6, but that means it shouldn't be too frosty, not too much humidity. So the ice at -5 should be hard and fast. Plenty of challenges here, a little bit like Korea. By corner 3, you know whether you're going to have a good run or not, because you can already have ruined it in 1 and 2. 3 and 4, a very tricky combination, and corner 5 and 6, although they're faster and a bit more open, also quite tricky. Just saw Freya Tarbit there, one of the 2 different winners last weekend. Lots of stretching, lots of physio work going on before we get our race underway. Amelia Coltman going away second was the other of our 2 race winners last weekend. So 2 first-time winners. Kimberly Boss leads the order. Our Olympic champion Hannah Nizer goes off 7th. World champion Hallie Clark goes off 10th. Freya Tarbit just ahead of her. Katie Uhlaender, the most experienced athlete in the field, down in 13th starting position and 31 sleds. So below Yulia Simpson, who's 25th. At that stage, the race will be full, so the remaining 6 will have to fight their way in. Getting underway in Yanqing in China with Kimberly Boss. Olympic bronze medalist on this track 2 years ago. The 31-year-old in her 61st World Cup start. Nice looking start down into corner 1. Carries lots of height. Out of 2, got to stay clean. Straight down the track. 3 to 4 transition was really awkward during the games. But a lot more, yeah, just that little touch on the exit. A lot more familiar with it now. And 5 and 6, again, you can see lots of toe steering going on there. Skating up through the chicane. Corner 9 into corner 10, uphill, and then dropping down into the Kreisel. Into the spiral. You can see how elevated the track is down this valley. And then predominantly here going uphill, although the camera shows it as sort of downhill. Out of 13. 14 and 15, so easy to just bump on and off those corners and scrub off speed. Out of 16, right to the line, and a 62.96. So that compares with Hannah Neiser's track record from the Olympics. The final day of action, 101.44, that's a 102.96, so 1.5 seconds away from that Olympic best. Big heightened scrabbling there for control. Heels together. Kim still trying to find the secrets of this track, trying to avoid scrubbing off too much speed. So she was 8th and 9th in the races in Korea. Amelia Coltman, 1st and 19th. She hadn't forgotten to slide by Sunday, but a sensational race on the first day of the season. She was 15th after the first heat as the track was relatively slow given her start number, and then she just hit it in absolutely the right time. Drove superbly, it has to be said, and ended up with her first career medal, her first win. That was race number 13 of her World Cup career, so much for superstition. 5:27 getaway, so 1200s behind Kimberly Boss. Nice tidy exit now. She hasn't, I know she did race here in the World Cup, she didn't race here in the Olympic Games, finished in 18th place in the World Cup at the beginning of last season. Beijing was the season opener last year. Nice looping height, nice control as well. Not too much noise of toes on ice. Out of 9. Corner 10 and then into the spiral. Winds its way downhill. First Olympic track to be built with a Kreisel since Calgary. How long ago was Calgary? Well, the film that was made about the Jamaican team in the Calgary Games, Cool Runnings, has been a winter staple for about 30 years. 600s back, 103.02. Got a little away from her down below the Kreisel, didn't it? A few too many taps. Now, whether that leaves her right in the frame or whether she and Kimberly Boss are both going to be a bit out of it, we will have to wait and see. Yeah, big hit there. The exit of the Kreisel, and then when you start sliding around uphill, this is 14:15. That's a classic example. Ni hao indeed. Classic example of what we saw in the games lots and lots of times. Scrubbed away 14 to 15. There's definitely a sting in the tail. Jackie Pfeiffer for Germany next up. Finished 8th in the games here 2 years ago. Silver medalist in Pyeongchang 2018, behind Lizzie Arnold, or between Lizzie Arnold and Laura Dees. Morning, Laura. Morning, Lizzie, as well, although I'm not sure if she is watching or not. Jackie Pfeiffer, one of the more experienced athletes in the German team. She's the real touchstone in terms of being there, done that in the current young German team. Her 64th World Cup race, 2017 World Champion. She's from Winterberg, where we will go a little bit later in the season. And for those of you missing bobsleigh, bobsleigh starts in Altenburg in the World Cup in a couple of weeks. North America's Cup already underway in Whistler this weekend. Not a bad looking run so far. In the red behind Kimberly Boss, 2/10 back. But if you're clean below the spiral, then you can really gain that time. And of course, that is where Jackie will be so good. Top speed, here we go, closing down the margin from 3400s early on to 1400s, second best speed, but pretty clean, 14 to 15. Just a tiny touch on the wall, 1500s back. So top three covered by 1500s now. That's a 5:38 start compared to 5:15 of our current leader Kimberly Boss, so she's giving away 2/10. More than that, 2300s at the start, and she's only 1500s down at the bottom. Toast here there, but still a big hit. And then that little rub on the wall as she came out of 16. Again, it's uphill there. Costs you more than you think it's going to. Corinna Leipold is the other end of Germany's experience chart. This is her third World Cup start, so she made her World Cup debut last weekend in Korea. 28-year-old from Berchtesgaden, reigning Europe Cup champion and the runner-up in the final season of the Intercontinental Cup 2 years ago, behind the champion Amelia Coltman. Finished 9th and 10th last weekend. Absolutely not a bad performance for your first weekend on a track that you don't really know. Not too many of the athletes do really know either of these Asian tracks. Last weekend was the first World Cup in Pyeongchang since the Olympic Games in 2018. So a dearth of experience in most of the field. Nice looking run from Corinna Leipold. Really good stuff. The FES sled seems to be very forgiving of skids and taps. Not quite sure how that works. Newton's laws should still apply. 400's back. She's going to be second at the moment, ahead of Amelia Coltman, and she was cleaner there than the British girl. So across the line she is. Oh, she's not. She has lost time. 4th place behind Jacka. Oh no, I am surprised. I didn't see that. Mind you, that wouldn't be the first time. Well, decent load. Just a tiny little rub there, but that's sort of mitigated by the fact you're dropping downhill. Watch her toes, just a tiniest little. She was desperate not to steer, but just felt that it needed something. And there's the problem with not having been to the track a lot, is that you're always questioning yourself. Well, Janine Flock, despite all of her previous 106 World Cup races, has only done a couple of races here at the Olympic Games and last year's season opener. Finished 10th in the Games, finished 6th last season. second and third last weekend. So Janine with a good start to the season. She led the first heat on day one in Korea and just got overhauled in the end by Amelia Coltman. 2800s back off a 5:35 start. Giving away 2/10 to the leader, Kimberly Boss. Let's see if she can find that on the way down. Her form, as ever, is superb. And tiny taps. Oh, a big hit going on to corner 10, or out of corner 9. Only the 5th best velocity. Needs a good exit here. That's pretty clean. Just a little bit of a skid. Second best speed, there's the reward, but 14.15, not as clean as it could be. Tiny touch before the timing eye as well. 103.32, so 1200s behind Karina Leipold in 5th position. Mickey Grunberger yelling away at the top as ever. Yeah, big hit there, and that throws her across, a big double hit. And then, again, before the timing eye. And here as well, same as Karina Leipold, just looking for a little bit of a steer. All right, well, that should be enough to leave her in contention. And who knows what the track is going to do in the second heat. First 5 sleds down, and actually they're racked up in their starting order. So, is where you start where you finish? Let's see next up, because here's a woman who should know this track intimately, China's Xiao Dan. Silver medalist here last season, the season opener, still her best World Cup result. She's 9th in the Winter Games. Really just maybe 1 or 2 seasons too early for her. She was still so young at that stage. Only 19 and with only a couple of full seasons of sliding behind her. But this is her opportunity really to shine. It's a 23rd World Cup race, her 2nd World Cup start on a home track. Start 5:26, not matching Kimberly Boss, but she has got the lead before we get to the spiral. So this is a nice looking run from Xiao Dan. 1:13.1, better speed than anybody else. Amelia Coltman was 1:12.9 at that stage. 1:18.9. Jackie Pfeiffer was 1:17.2, so she's absolutely flying. 1:28.0. Top speed from Kimberly Boss was 1:25.1. Monster run from Xiao Dan, and there's the result. Well, it doesn't hurt that they have spent all of pre-season sliding on this track rather than anywhere else. Great opportunity for the Chinese athletes to shine, and a great opportunity for Dan to take her first ever World Cup win. Nice clean load, nice clean run, and look at the way she holds her form. She knows exactly where she's going. She's really not questioning herself at all. Hello. Hello. So that's the English for Ni Hao. So Xiao Dan takes the lead for China. What about the Olympic champion Hannah Neisser? World Championship bronze medalist at the end of last season. She finished in 6th place in race 1, silver medalist in race 2 last weekend. Didn't come here for the season opener last year. 5:35 getaway. Well, she's given away a 10th to Xiao Dan at the start already. So the Olympic champion on this track, Hannah Neisser, going to have to find a little bit of that magic as well. Oh, a little drift and a toe steer there, not going to help. Still in the frame, only 900s back. So she's lost nothing from the start. She's actually narrowed the gap. It had gone out to 1200s. Still 900s, better velocity, a whisker better. 0.5 of a kilometre an hour faster than Xiao Dan, and that's a great exit as well. This is a really nice looking run. She's just a half K down on speed there. And 2 kilometres an hour, 1.5 kilometres an hour down at the bottom. 1600s back in second place. So local heroine leads Olympic champion. Well, that is certainly a manageable gap, 1600s. Kimberly Boss in third, 7200s back. Amelia Coltman fourth, 7800s back. So unless Xiao Dan has a nightmare in the second heat, it really is going to be about who takes the other medals. Just a little offline from our Olympic champion, but pretty impressive. Nice work from Hannah Neisser. Now, the only one of the British girls not to win a race, because there was only 2 and there are 3 British female sliders. Last weekend, Tabby Stoker, she won her first World Cup gold medal. In fact, her first World Cup medal in La Plagne in the early part of last season. In fact, it was a podium completely comprised of first-time medalists. I can't tell you the last time that happened. 11th World Cup start for her, 23 years old, finished 18th in race 1 and 5th in race 2. She'd been second behind Janine Flock in the first heat of race 1 last weekend and just hit all the cold, frosty ice, plummeted down the order. But this is a very nice looking run so far. All tiny little tap, 3 to 4, and the big sweeping 5, 6 through the chicane, little tap there and a steer as well. Still in the green over Xiao Dan, wow. And still in the green over Xiao Dan, but only the 6th best speed. All of those little steers and skids are going to cost her before we get to the end of the run. 3rd best speed. Gaps come down from 0.3 to 0.08 of a second. Chin of the helmet scraping on the ice there. She's been a little loosey-goosey and let it fly, hits the wall. 3rd place, 0.2 back. That's a good run from Tabby Stoker, well done. 62.44 off a 5.07 start, so that gave her such a big acceleration advantage over Xiao Dan, but you can still throw it away in the first couple of corners. She was good to the exit of corner 4, which always causes problems. And that big hit, boom, that's the hardest we've seen so far, with the sled and athlete thrown off the ground.
Everyone at home, thanks so much for watching. We're in China, it's so cool. New track bit's so fun.
High on adrenaline? Yep. Now then, our World Cup points leader wearing the yellow jersey, the 3rd of the British sliders, Freya Tarbit. So she was 4th in race 1 in Korea and victorious in race 2. In fact, she nearly had 2 medals. She was only 200ths off the podium in race 1 and won race 2 by 96 hundredths. An astonishing second heat in race 2. Absolutely blew the field away, blew the Olympic champion Hannah Neisser into the weeds. So let's see what she's got here. As inexperienced on this track as she was in Korea, with 1 day's less action, because there's only 1 race this weekend. 600s up over Xiao Dan. 500s up on the Chinese slider at the start. Nice and quiet. Second best speed. That's the closest to Dan, I think, that we've seen at the Kreisel. Nice exit, little skiddy, best speed of all. If she keeps it clean now, and that is not easy down in these fast, low corners, this could be the new leader. Little bump onto 15, out of corner 16, hits the wall, across the line, dead heat. Wow. That is impressive. Given that on Sunday they were in Korea, so they flew here and then have had 6 training runs on this track. And Xiaodan will have had 10 times that run volume at the very least this season or pre-season. That's mighty stuff from our World Cup points leader, Freya Tarbit. And as it stands at the moment, she will be the penultimate slider. Not last to go, but second last to go. So that will potentially put the pressure on Xiaodan to perform. So 10th of our 31 sliders, and it's Canada's world champion. Now, fully 20 years old, Hallie Clark. Still not old enough to drink the victory champagne, at least not in her home country. Finished 15th here in the season opener last year. That was only her 9th, 8th, 7th World Cup start, I think, something like that. 100th up. Well, the track is certainly offering a little bit, isn't it? 10 sleds in, we're still getting competitive slides. Ooh, big hit there. I'm sure we'll see that in replay, and a long skid as well. Out of 9, 10, and whistling down onto the spiral. This enormous cantilevered structure. Not cantilevers at all, is it? It's pillared. Out of 13, and then a big skid out of 13, 14, 15. She's having a bit of a meander. Out of 16, tiniest rub on the wall. 9th place, a second back. So 63.32. Is that enough to keep her in the top 10? She's actually tied with Janine Flock to the 100, so we've got 2 dead heats already. One for first place and one for 9th place. So 10 sleds down, and 4 of our sliders have tied with someone else. That's not what we saw in the games. I don't remember that being a thing. Suddenly we appear to have gone to Winterberg. So Xiaodan and Freya Tarbit tied for the lead, ahead of the Olympic champion Hannah Neiser and Tabby Stoker, and Janine Flock and Hallie Clark tied for 9th. 10 down, 21 to go. First heat, race 3 of the IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. We're at Yanqing in China. And our 11th starter in her 11th World Cup is 31-year-old American Sarah Roderick. Season finale last year was in Lake Placid, where the World Championships will be at the end of this season. Sarah finished in her World Cup best of 9th at that stage. Let's see if she can put herself into the top 10 here. This is very much a new track for her, as was Korea. Finished in 18th and 12th in Pyeongchang last weekend in some very mixed conditions, and has a slender lead. 5:14 is a very good start. Little rattle will take speed out of the sled, and a skid there as well, and a subsequent brush on the wall. A little tap going into corner 9 and 10, from 9 to 10. And the 10th best speed. And it's these tiny errors that just take that edge of speed off the sled. hardly surprising when you've not been here before. You've only had half a dozen training runs. You still basically only just about know the track. Never mind the finesse to absolutely lay down a smoking one. 103.75. So 18th and 12th last weekend. She'll be looking to try and improve on those finishes here. Let's see what the second heat gives her. Well, the starting is good, but familiarity with the track is very limited. You saw there with a big skid in 13, and then 14 and 15 producing problems as well. Yeah, I know how she feels. It does sound like she's got a bit of the flu going on. I can take all the drugs that I can get. She can't. Alessandra Fumagalli, 24-year-old Italian. Had a disappointing weekend last weekend, it's fair to say. Missed the cut in both races. 26th and 20... I beg your pardon, she didn't. She made the cut in the second heat just. She was 24th in the end. Again, didn't compete here in the games and didn't race here at the beginning of last season. Ellie Schneider kept the team back in Europe, learning and getting ready for the European season. It was just a single race weekend last year, so only missed one race. But with 3 of the season's 8 races being in this Asian leg for the Skeleton World Cup, missing it here really doesn't give them great opportunity to race against the athletes that they'll be competing against in the next games in 2026 offline, and that's a big looping exit out of 10. So she had trouble in the chicane and trouble on the exit as well. Yeah, flops off the end of the Kreisel. Oh, really struggling and just about held on. And this is one of those runs that just reminds you how difficult it is, this thing that they're doing. When you see somebody who's really got the track nailed and it looks so straightforward, you go, yeah, I can do that. You genuinely can't. It's a tough first run for Alessandra. Nice load, but again, late exit there, big skids. Again here, drove it down too early, centrifugal force pushed her way up. And it's just lack of familiarity with the track. She's, I wouldn't quite say making it up as she goes along, but having done half a dozen training runs in probably slightly different and slightly slower ice conditions, she's now trying to really hang it out there for competition speed, and that's where the judgments have to be spot on. By our maths, and Katie may argue with me again on this, and that's a prerogative, I believe this is World Cup start number 105 for Katie Uhlaender from the USA. 6 in the Winter Games here, a 5-time Winter Olympian, and unless something very unusual happens, by the time we get to Milan Cortina, she will become a 6-time Winter Olympian. Now, whether she goes for 7 or not, I don't know. 5:33 getaway. Again, although she competed here in the games, did not come here at the beginning of last season, so it's been a couple of years since she slid on this track. But it's pretty hard to argue with a top 6 finish in the Olympic Games. And the circumstances surrounding the 2022 Games, of course, it was just as everything in the rest of the world was coming out of COVID, but not really here in China. And nobody had any knowledge of the track apart from the Chinese athletes who had not been anywhere else. So it was a real leveller. And when you've got the experience of Katie Uhlaender and that competitive fire. That's what allowed her to be so on the numbers. Such a distinctive sliding style. Here we go, down in the lower reaches, 14 to 15, keeping it clean. Well, there's always one more heat to go until the end of heat 4 in the World Championships, and then there are no more heats to go until the following season. But from Katie Uhlaender, we now move to Suzanne Creyer. This is Suzanne's 20th World Cup start. '23 world champion in St. Moritz, but yet to win a World Cup race. So 5:25 is the getaway. Again, a competitive start, but big height there. I'm sure if she actually touched the woodwork in 2. Looping out of 4. .200s back to 1100s back, so losing a little speed to Xiaodan and Freya Tarbit. At the moment, top German slider is Olympic champion Hannah Neiser in 3rd. Only the 8th best speed coming into the spiral. Handles the pressures nicely, gets a good exit as well. Still 8th best speed. 6/10 back though. 8th best speed still. This is shaping up to be 8th at the line. Speeds didn't lie, did they? Well, Suzanne finished in 4th place in the season opener last year. Currently down in 8th behind Jackie Pfeiffer and just ahead of Corinna Leipold. So 300s behind Jacka and 600s ahead of Corinna. So the three of our 4 German sleds are covered by 900ths of a second. What are you going to do? Familiarity with the track is definitely an issue, as it was last weekend. It's going to be an issue for Mystique Rowe as well. Didn't compete in the games, was not here in the World Cup last year. So total run volume on the track, 6 runs. 16 corners. And getting on for 1.5 kilometres of ice, and you've had 6 runs down it. Not exactly a lot of knowledge, is it? 5:04, fastest start of the competition by some margin. Well, one thing Mystique does do is give herself a real fighting chance out of the block. Similar sliding style to Katie Uhlaender. Legs sort of parallel rather than heels and ankles together. I wonder if that's maybe something to do with the sled, whether it's just what works for her. 1500s back. She's dropped 3/10 and the speed only 11th best. Nice tidy exit, but hasn't got speed on board. This will be 7th, 8th, 9th. Across the line in 9th place, 1:03.18. So Mystique Rowe, 2200s up at the start, 9400s back at the bottom. But that is run 7 of her career on this track. Now, there are other tracks that you will go to for the first time in World Cup that you may well have raced on in the lower categories, in the Intercontinental Cup or Europe Cup. This is not one of those because of the peculiarities of when it was opened and COVID. Xiaodan and Freya Tarbit still lead from Hananiza. 15 sleds in, 16 to go, so the midway point in our run is Canada's Jane Channel. 14th in the World Cup standings. This is Jane's 74th World Cup start. Finished in 12th place here last year. Finished 17th in February 2022 in the Winter Games. 5:14. And again, because of COVID and all of that, 2022 was quite exceptional that they had the Winter Games and Summer Games in the same year. That hasn't happened for a long while. And they will now, of course, be staggered. Paris this summer, and 2 years until Milan Cortina, and 2 years till next Summer Games, and so on and so forth. Well, Jane just 200s back. 5th best speed as she got onto the Kreisel. And another good-looking run. You can hear she's got her head buried there. She wasn't looking. Long steer coming out. 9th best speed. Could be aiming to a top 6 run here if she's clean. Oh, only the 15th best speed. Little too much toe dragging going on across the line. 13th place, not quite in the top 10. Well, 12th place in last year's World Cup, 17th in the Winter Games. So she would like to improve on this, I'm sure. You see the sled getting very sideways there. And again here, down in 14-15, just getting pushed away.
Hey, everybody.
So from Jane Channel to Li Yuxi of China. 21st World Cup start for Li. Finished in 14th in the Winter Games. What an opportunity for these young sliders. She was only 24 then, to compete in the Olympic Games at home. Of course, for them, the slight disappointment was it was still pretty much lockdown in China, and so there was really very little crowd. 5:13 start. Puts her nicely in the frame. And again, like her teammate Xiaodan, she should have this track absolutely down pat. 1600s up on the leaders. Name on the top says Xiaodan, but she is tied with Freya Tarbit. Now Li drops back. She's gone from 13 to 1600s up, then 500s up, now 2700s back. Where has her speed gone? Whoa. Only the 14th best speed. Something has gone very wrong in runner choice or setup on the sled. 13th at the line. Well, Li finished 7th in the World Cup here in December last year. Was it December? Was it November? November last year. So, well, the start was strong and she looked good early on. I don't know where she lost all that speed. Well, there's a long drift. But she wasn't rocking and rolling and falling all over the place. 700s behind the tie for 11th now between Janine Flock and Hallie Clark. but she's 2/10 out of the top 10. Sure, that's what the Chinese were expecting for her. Next up from the Czech Republic, Anna Fernstedt. New helmet design for the season. It's an absolute cracker. It's like a vintage Formula One helmet, but with a little bit of added interest on the top. 7th in the games here, behind Katie Uhlaender a couple of years ago. Finished 10th in the World Cup season opener last year. And 8th place in race 2 in Korea. Her first top 10 finish since finishing 10th here at the beginning of last season. For 8th in Korea, one of her best results outside a German track. And why are German tracks so good for Anna? Because she started sliding in Germany as a German slider, so she knows them all extremely well, which is not a bad thing when we're going to Altenburg in 2 weeks' time. 6th best speed. This is really good velocity. Now she's 62 hundredths back. She was 11 hundredths back from her start, but the speed is fantastic. Well, it might be 13th at the line, 11th at the line. Excellent. Now, is that a dead heat? No, she's ahead of Janine Flock and Hallie Clark by 8 hundredths of a second. She is 4 hundredths out of the top 10. So 10th place here last year, and just outside the top 10 now. Excellent speed in the lower part of the track, and you only get that by being clean early on. She doesn't have the fastest start, but she does know how to drive a sled. She's been working on her own sled program for the last couple of years, so doesn't have a sled builder. That makes it all the more impressive that she can work on her own sleds and still produce the goods. Next up, Alessia Crippa of Italy. Now, she did race here last year, finished in 14th place in the World Cup. Not such a great start to the season last weekend, 20th and 25th. In Korea. She'll definitely be hoping to be higher up the order than that. .519, nice strong start, gives her everything she needs. Nice height in 2, controls it nicely. Just 100th back behind Xiao Dan. Already drifting away, only 15th at the moment on the splits. Again, not looking like a disastrous run, and 10th best speed in the spiral. Still 10th best speed, so if she keeps it clean, again, she should be aiming up towards the top 10 or 12. 14th best speed, maybe not, and a brush on the wall, 14th at the line. Well, Alessia still looking for a top 10 finish in the World Cup. Her career high, 11th place in Lake Placid. Needs it to gel, just needs that one race where both runs go really well. And suddenly she finds herself backing up that start with 2 good runs. So from 24-year-old Alessia Crippa to 31-year-old Valentina Margalio. Valentina 9th here last year, 12th in the Winter Games the year before. 40th World Cup start. And as you can see from her helmet, somebody in Austria reckons that she's going to be a big star in the next year or two. Not necessarily sure that I disagree with them. 5:07. Very encouraging images coming out of Cortina at the moment of the progress on the track. Ooh, working hard, 3 to 4. That's not great. Still in green. But she's on from 2100s up. Where's she going to be? About 1600s back here. No, 3/10 back. The speed is not strong. Alessia Crippa is the top Italian slider of the two at the moment in 14th place. Only 19th best speed for Valentina. She is going to be right at the tail of the field. Valentina Margalio 19th, Alessandra Fumagalli 20th. Wow. Something has gone astray. Well, it wasn't a tidy run, but was it a 19th place run? Not sure their runner choice or their setup is quite where it ought to be. Briton Freya Tarbit, Hannah Neiser, the top three with 20 sleds down. Anna Zauliter of Austria, 5th World Cup start for the 25-year-old, and she had her best World Cup result of her brief career last weekend in race 2, where she finished in 21st spot. It was a big turnaround after the first heat of race 1, where she was only 32nd, didn't get a second heat. So she made the cut in race 2. And 21st place, her personal best in World Cup starts. So let's see what she's got here. A 5:53 start is going to always leave her a little bit on the back foot. New to the track means this is a little bit like Korea, just a massive learning cycle. 6 training runs and then into the race, trying to make the cut. So still trying to find the speed somewhere. Trying to take as many chances as you can. Little brush on the wall across the line. 20th at the moment. So she is ahead of Alessandra Fumagalli. Well, for Anna, when she gets back to Europe for the bulk of this season, she will be on tracks with which she is at least a little more familiar. She may not be on intimate terms with all of them. Places like Lillehammer, for instance. But there will be a few that she knows well from her early years in the sport. Now, speaking of early years, this is Liang Yuxin, the youngest slider in the field. Was one of 2 17-year-olds who were racing in Korea. And she was the younger by a week, amazingly. Not weeks or months, but 1 week. Just 7 days between her and Carla Aznar of Spain. 3rd World Cup start then for Liang. And let's see what she's got here. She got a 25th place and a 31st place finish in Korea last weekend. 100th away at the start, off a slightly slower getaway than Xiao Dan. .2300's back, long skid. And again, contact with the wall. 14th best speed. Should give her the opportunity to be in the top 20. Oh, hits the wall coming out of the Kreisel. Well, considering I'm sure she must have had dozens of runs down here pre-season, 18th place. Not a sparkling run. Of course, pre-season training without cameras, lights and all the competitors, when it's just the Chinese athletes, is one thing. But she should know the track well enough not to be making mistakes like that. So our 23rd starter in her 20th World Cup race is the USA's Kelly Curtis. Finished in 21st place in the Winter Games. Was not competing here last year because she had just given birth to baby daughter Maeve.
Come on.
Beginning of the previous season, 22-23, she took her bronze medal in Lake Placid, her home track, or one of her home tracks. USA still blessed with 5.30, and that is a decent start for somebody who is still a new mum. 16 best start. She's out to 22nd on the splits. So didn't compete here last year. Didn't slide anywhere last year. Didn't anywhere last year. Did a bit of forerunning in Lake Placid at the end of the season, just to get back the feeling. 21st place. Ahead of Alessandra Fumagalli. Can she climb ahead of Valentina Margalio into 20th? Katie Eulander is 19th. Kelly is 21st. So she has 2 sleds behind her already. Will be enough to see her into the second heat. Right up in the woodwork. Of course, that then fires you across way offline into the wall on the other side, and all of these hits taking the pressure speed out of the sled.
Hey Jesse, hey Lele, hey Maeve. See you guys soon.
And beating the athlete up while they're at it. Well, from the USA to South America and Colombia, Lara Vargas started her sliding career as a Canadian. 10th World Cup start for Lara, former figure skater. And still looking to make the cut here. Top 25 of 31 sleds go through. 5.50 getaway. Big height in 2. Little uncomfortable on the exit. Not too bad out of 4. And then this 5-6 sequence, much bigger corners, much quicker through the chicane. Corner 9. Whoa! Quite high on 9, that little hit as a result. Into the spiral she comes. 23rd place on the splits at the moment, ahead of Italy's Alessandra Fumagalli. Is she going to close on Anna Saulita of Austria? Oh, little rub there off 14-15. And a hit on the wall, 23rd. So she is ahead of Alessandra Fumagalli. Yikes. Worry for Alessandra making a second heat. I think that is now looking highly unlikely. 105.70 for Laura Vargas. Not a bad looking run, but here just got a little late, bumped away, and then that puts you offline. That's a big smile on her face. "24 sleds down then, 25th away. Don't forget the fastest 25 go through. Julia Simpson of Switzerland. Just 22, and like Laura Vargas, in her 10th World Cup start. So, like Laura, also did not come here at the beginning of last season. Long way to come, a lot of expense for one race on a track you've never seen. Limit the damage financially and physically, and just spend another week or two in Europe training before the rest of the world arrives. It may well have been a sensible option. So 5:52 start, just a whisker behind Laura Vargas, and in the same sort of area as Anna Saulita, who started 5:53. Whoa, big height. Long skid as a result. Trying to control all of that. 24th at the start, up to 23rd on the splits, and she too is ahead of Alessandra Fumagalli. She's also ahead of Laura Vargas. 22nd best speed. At the moment, she's going to fall in between Anna Saulita of Austria and Laura Vargas of Colombia. 23rd at the line. 22nd at the line, puts Anna Saulita behind her, and Laura Vargas and Alessandra Fumagalli. So 3 sleds behind her, and that gives her a chance of making it through into the second heat. Now, she didn't make the cut in either race in Korea. She's given herself a shot here. Third generation sliding family. Granddad John Wickie was a bobsledder. Father Alan Wickie was a bobsledder. Mum Connie Simpson was a skeleton slider. Briton Freya Tarbit, Hannah Nyes are the top 3. The race is full, 6 more sleds to go. So real pressure on these final athletes. Go fast or go home. If you don't get into the top 25 on your first run, it will be your only run. 23-year-old from Korea, Hong Soo-jung. Haven't seen this young athlete until we rocked up in Korea in the World Cup. And did not make the cut in either of her first 2 starts. That on the track that she probably knows best of all. Most of her racing's been done in North America's Cup. She's only done a handful of races, a couple of dozen, not even. '23rd fastest start, 5:39. Still 23rd on the splits. So right now, ahead of Anna Saulita, Laura Vargas, and Alessandra Fumagalli. Big skid and only the 26th best speed. 25th on the split. She's ahead of Alessandra Fumagalli. It is her or the Italian. Slightly better speed, but she's in real trouble there. And I think that's probably the end of her chance. That would have taken so much speed out of the sled. 25th, even then she's ahead of Alessandra Fumagalli. Wow. 106.06. So no second run for Alessandra Fumagalli. Dramatic stuff for Hong Soo-jung, but at the moment she has forced her way into the field. And this is that corner that's been causing so much trouble. Everybody coming down way too early, paying the price on the exit. Well, perhaps a slightly better chance for China's Song Siji to make the field. Start draw number 27 for the 24-year-old. Made her World Cup debut, not in Korea last weekend, but in Lake Placid at the end of last season. And that was her 15th official IBSF race. Finished 22nd in race 1 in Korea. Ooh, big height in 2. Is that a good thing? Corner 1 rather. Looking decent so far, but only 21st best start. She is edging towards the top 20 on the splits, and it is a clean run. That's a nice exit as well. 15th best speed. This is really what you should be seeing from the Chinese athletes. Although they may not have the fastest start, they certainly have the most knowledge of the track, most time on the ice. Top 20 now, with 15th best speed at the bottom, clean across the line, 20th place. So, no race for Alessandra Fumagalli, no second heat for Hong Soo-jung, and for Laura Vargas, 25th place at the moment. Means she is very much on the bubble. So Xiaodan of China leads, and her 2 younger teammates, in fact, Song Siji is not younger, she's older than Xiaodan by 3 years, but her 2 less experienced teammates are down towards the tail end of the top 20, 18th and 20th place. For Switzerland then, Sarah Schmidt, another of the young sliders in the field, just 19 in her second full World Cup season. World Cup race number 9, made her debut in La Plan last year in December. She's 13th on her World Cup debut. Her best, a 12th place finish in Altenburg. So both of the Swiss sliders have career bests in Altenburg. Sarah Schmidt doing herself no favours, hitting the wall straight out of the start groove. 14th fastest start, but basically came to a dead stop as she hit the wall there. And out to 24th place on the splits. That's a real shame, because all the way down now she'll be lacking speed. Starting to build it, 14th best speed. So she's doing a lot of things right. Little skid there. Maybe working too much to control the Kreisel, because she went from 14th best to 23rd best speed on the exit. Across the line, and 23rd at the line, so Laura Vargas is at, and Anna Zaulita in 25th place now is in the drop zone. Sarah Schmid 23rd, and teammate Julia Simpson 24th. So 64.58 run for Sarah Schmid. So she's in the left groove as the sliders see it and gets kicked straight into the wall there. And that will have properly rattled her fillings, because you're just going, right, you're doing, 30 Ks, bang into the wall.
Hope for second run.
Well, she may be the first athlete who's used that left-hand groove as the athletes see it, and now we discover that it kicks out sideways. Next up for Canada, 29th of our 31 starters, Grace Defoe, the 31-year-old in her 4th World Cup race. Her debut was in St. Moritz in January. And then did the 2 World Cups last weekend in Korea. So this is start number 4. 25th in St. Moritz, did not make the cut last weekend, 35th and 36th. Again, lack of familiarity with the track is definitely going to be an issue. Working hard to scramble round here without doing too much work. The problem is, if you don't know exactly what the line is, it's very hard to be on it, and you're constantly adjusting. 26 fast to start. She was up to 25th on the splits. She's now down to 26th on the split times, and this is not looking like a tidy quick run. 29th best speed. So the lowest velocity into the crowds, and almost a leisurely exit there. The sled with visibly less speed than the really quick athletes at the top of the field. This is not going to be enough to get her into the second heat. 29th at the moment, 106.73. So that is it for the day for Grace Defoe. She and Alessandra Fumigali of Italy, and Hong Soo-jung of Korea, and Lara Vargas of Colombia will not have a second heat. 2 more sleds to go. So at the moment, in 25th, Anna Zaulita is not safe. In 24th, Julia Simpson is not safe. But Sarah Schmid in 23rd is. So long rub on the wall. Leg comes out to try and save the skid. Down here, you can see her working with the hips and with the head.
Love you.
Well, it's going to be a while before they get back home. Christmas, New Year break if they're lucky, and there's not much of a break. Many of the North American athletes may remain in Europe. 2 to go then. 30th of our sliders is Elena Peltman from Belgium. 5th World Cup start from the 22-year-old. Got thrown in off the high board for her World Cup debut. That was in Altenburg in January. And her World Cup bests are 3 21st place finishes out of 4 previous starts. Made the cut in both races in Korea. Ooh, big hit there though. Like so many, has not slid on this track before. Actually, she hadn't slid Korea before either. 30th at the start, 5:57. 29th on the splits, only the 27th best speed. Doesn't look like she's got enough speed. Uphill all the way to the line. I think this is not going to make it in. 26th. How close was she behind Anna Zaulita? Actually, she was 43 hundredths back, so not close. So no second heat for Elena Peltmans. And all of those little taps and bumps that they make in training as they're learning the track. Well, she's still learning the track. She's had 6 runs. So she's still very much learning the track. Still got a smile on her face. Final slider then to go in this first of our 2 heats is Darta Zunta for Estonia. Started a career sliding for Latvia, but with dual nationality has become an Estonian slider in her 8th race. This is her 6th as an Estonian, only did 2 World Cups sliding for Latvia. Latvia big on their bobsleigh programme, not big, it has to be said, on skeleton. Now you say, okay, Martin, Martin's two course, yeah, that was a different issue there. 5:32 getaway was the 19th best. She is hovering around the top 20 at the moment, drifting away a little, still in the race. Nice looking run so far. 25th speed. This is really clinging on by her fingertips. It is her or Austria's Anna Zaulita. This will be pretty close. At the moment, she is still in the race. Unless she has a catastrophe now. Hit on the wall, 24th, she's in. Anna Zaulita is out, I'm afraid. So Darta Zunta makes the cut. 28th and 24th last weekend. And she is 24th ahead of Julia Simpson. So Julia, who was the 25th starting athlete, finishes the first heat in 25th. So she is in. Anna Zaulita is out. So Darta starting 5:32, 19th best start. And just clinging on to a spot in the race. So she is in. Out are Anna Zaulita and Elena Peltmans and Lara Vargas and Hong Soo Jung and Alessandra Fumagalli and Grace Defoe. So we have 2 leaders. Xiao Dan of China, perhaps not a surprise, the 21-year-old who finished in 9th place in the Games, is definitely the best of the Chinese trio that we're seeing so far this season. She had the lead for a while, but was then tied by Great Britain's Freya Tarbit, who was one of our 2 winners last time out. And Freya Tarbit, 4th in race 1 in Korea, victorious in race 2, her first Korea World Cup medal was a Korean gold. And she tied to the 100th with Xiao Dan. So it will be a 1-heat race between the 2 of them, and who knows who else is going to be in the frame by the time we get to the end of our 2nd heat. So Xiao Dan, Freya Tarbit tied to the 100th, Hannah Neiser and Tabby Stoker still in the frame, definitely. Possibly out of the medals, Kimberly Boss, Amelia Coltman, one of last weekend's winners. Possibly not. Top 10, there's a tie just outside, Janine Flock and Hallie Clark tying for 12th. 200s between Alessia Cripper and Li Yuxi. And then 100th between Yang Yuxin and Sarah Roderick in 17th place. And 25th spot The final place in the race goes to Julia Simson. So Anna Zaulita, Elena Peltmans, Lara Vargas, Hong Soo Jung, Alessandra Fumagalli and Grace Defoe will be watching the second heat from the sidelines. And you can join them. That will be up at 16:45 local, which is 8:45 GMT. And for those of you not either in Beijing or on GMT, that will be in 26 minutes from now. So we'll go 25 down to 1 to see who wins the third World Cup of the season. Will we get our third different winner, or will we have a repeat? There's only one way to find out. Join me and the rest of the crew in 25 minutes from now.